Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic I know a lot of you are interested in, long-distance relationships. But we're going way deeper than the usual communication is key advice. We're going to really get into those external pressures that can make LDRs so tough, and how to not just survive, but thrive when you're miles apart from your partner.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just missing your partner, right? It's those raised eyebrows you get from people,
Yeah.
the skeptical comments, the doubts from people who just don't get it.
You're so right. We all know LDRs come with unique challenges like the time difference, coordinating visits, just the emotional weight of the distance. But then you add everyone else's opinions on top of it. And it's no wonder so many people feel like they're fighting an uphill battle.
Exactly. And that's where this deep dive comes in. We're going to break down exactly what makes the LDR emotional roller coaster so unique. We'll dissect those external pressures, and we'll give you some actual strategies for communication, setting boundaries, and building a support system that actually works.
Okay, so let's just address the elephant in the room first. The sometimes messy, emotional reality of being in an LDR.
Right. It's not all romantic airport reunions and sunshine.
Definitely not.
Distance amplifies everything. You miss your partner's physical presence, those spontaneous hugs, all the little everyday things. It can trigger some serious loneliness unlike anything else.
Yeah, I bet. And I can imagine that loneliness could lead to some insecurity, especially with social media always showing these picture-perfect in-person relationships. Makes it easy to start questioning everything.
You're exactly right. There's research that actually shows people in LDRs tend to overanalyze their partner's texts or their social media,
Hmm.
trying to figure out what every little thing means. It's like our brains are trying to fill in the gaps created by the physical distance.
Wow, that's so interesting. And honestly, kind of heartbreaking. It's like you're constantly looking for reassurance that you can't really get when you're so far apart.
Exactly. That's why being able to be open with each other and feeling secure in your relationship is absolutely crucial in LDRs. But here's the interesting thing. A lot of couples that make it through long distance actually end up with amazing communication skills.
Really? How so?
You can't rely on nonverbal cues or just doing something spontaneous for them. You have to learn how to articulate your feelings and your needs and what you expect from each other in a way that's clear and concise. It's like fast tracking to a level of emotional intelligence that takes other couples years to develop.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Distance is like the ultimate communication boot camp.
I like that, the ultimate communication boot camp. And a lot of people in LDR say they find a new sense of independence. They learn to manage their time on their own, pursue their own passions, and build a strong sense of self outside the relationship.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom then. There's some serious potential for personal growth in the midst of all the challenges.
Absolutely. It's all about perspective. Instead of just thinking about what you're missing, you focus on what you're gaining from the experience, like communication skills, independence, and let's not forget the joy of those reunions after weeks or even months apart.
Okay, I'm starting to see the silver lining here, but let's be real. Those external pressures we talked about earlier can really make things hard. Why are people so quick to doubt LDRs? What is it about long distance that makes people so skeptical?
Well, I think, for one, it's often just a lack of understanding. If you've never been in a long-distance relationship yourself, you might have no idea how a relationship can work without being physically close to each other all the time. Sometimes people even project their own insecurities onto you. They assume distance automatically means you're disconnected.
Yeah, it's like they're seeing it through the lens of their own experience. They don't realize that LDRs have a whole different set of rules.
Exactly. And then there's all the stereotypes. It's just a phase. It's not a real relationship. It's never going to last. All these generalizations make it hard for people to take LDR seriously.
Yeah, you feel like you have to defend your relationship all the time, like you're trying to prove that your love is real. And that is exhausting.
You're right. And I think sometimes the skepticism comes from a good place, like with your close friends and family. They're worried about you being lonely or missing out on things. So it's important to remember that sometimes their doubts actually come from a place of love, even if it doesn't feel like it.
That's a good point. But knowing that doesn't make it any easier to deal with, does it?
Nope, not really.
Mm.
That's why being able to communicate well is so important, both with your partner and with the people who are expressing doubts.
So we shouldn't get defensive or shut down. We need to address those concerns head on. But how do you do that without every conversation becoming a debate about whether or not LDRs can work?
Well, one thing you can try is shifting the focus.
Mm.
Instead of defending the relationship itself, talk about all the good things, all the things that make your relationship strong. So instead of saying, it's working, trust me, you give them concrete examples of how you're making it work.
Give them specifics instead of generalities.
Exactly. Talk about your communication routines. Maybe you have a video call every Sunday night, or you write letters to each other. Share how you handle conflict when it comes up. Maybe you've learned to be more patient and understanding because every conversation is so precious.
I love that. Show them, don't tell them.
Exactly. And by focusing on all the positive stuff, you can help them see past their preconceived notions about what an LDR is and can be. And sometimes just changing the subject isn't enough. That's when you need to set some boundaries.
Boundaries. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, it's all about protecting your relationship from too much outside influence. You and your partner get to decide how much you want to share about your relationship and who you share it with. It is totally okay to set limits on questions that feel too personal or advice that you didn't ask for.
So, like, you're drawing a line and saying, this is our relationship. We'll figure it out on our own.
Yes. And sometimes it's as simple as just politely changing the subject. Like, if someone keeps asking when you're moving in together, you could say, we're really focused on building a strong foundation right now, and we'll figure out the logistics later.
Ooh, I like that. You're acknowledging their question without actually giving them more information than you want to.
Exactly. Or if someone keeps giving you advice that you didn't ask for, you can just say something like, we appreciate that you care, but we feel good about how we're handling things. We'll let you know if we need any advice.
So you can be assertive, but still respectful.
That's the key. And here's a tip. Practice saying those phrases with your partner ahead of time. That way, when those conversations come up, you'll feel more confident and prepared. Plus, presenting a united front is super powerful.
It's like you're creating a force field around your relationship, blocking out all the negativity. And speaking of support, I think it's important to remember that not everyone is going to understand your relationship or even try to.
That's so true. And that's exactly why you need to build this support network of people who do understand LDRs, people who get it.
Okay, so where do you find these magical unicorn people?
You might be surprised. There are actually a ton of people out there who get it. Online communities are great for this. There are forums and groups, even entire social media platforms dedicated to people in LDRs.
So it's like finding your tribe, people who speak your language and get your struggles. You don't have to explain everything to them.
Yeah, exactly. And those online communities are full of resources. Tips for managing the time difference, advice on dealing with the loneliness. You can share your experiences, ask questions, and just know that you're not alone in this.
That must feel so validating to know you're not the only one going through this. And beyond online communities, I think it's important to have friends and family who are supportive in general, even if they've never been in an LDR themselves.
Yes, definitely. Having people in your life who celebrate your relationship
Yeah.
and trust that you can make it work, that makes a huge difference.
It's about quality over quantity, right? A few really good friends are better than a ton of friends who question everything you do.
100%. And you know what we often forget to take care of when we're busy focusing on the relationship and dealing with everyone's opinions?
Ourselves.
Self-care. That is
Yeah.
so important in any relationship. But especially with LDRs, it's so easy to get caught up in all the logistics and the emotions that we forget to take care of our own well-being.
It really is. And here's the thing. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It actually helps your relationship. When you're feeling good physically and mentally and emotionally, you're able to show up for your partner and deal with the challenges of being apart.
Put on your own oxygen mask first.
I love that. That is a perfect analogy. So what are some things that fill your cup? What helps you feel less stressed and more joyful?
For me, it's definitely those moments when I can just be alone, read a book, go for a run outside, spend some time with my dog, or take a really long bath. Anything that helps me relax and recharge. I love it. And it's different for everyone, right? Maybe it's painting or listening to music or gardening or volunteering or meditating. The important thing is to figure out what works for you and make time for it every day.
And if self-care isn't enough, it's okay to talk to a therapist, right?
Absolutely. Therapists can help you develop coping skills, manage your stress, and communicate more effectively. It's worth it.
Okay, so we've talked about managing all the pressure from the outside world. But how do you strengthen the relationship itself? How do you make your bond stronger when you're physically apart?
That's the exciting part. Because even though it might not seem like it, distance can actually bring you closer together.
Really?
Think about it. When you're not constantly together, every time you do connect, it feels more special. Every conversation is more meaningful. You have to talk about the important things. Be vulnerable with each other and really see each other for who you are in a way that doesn't always happen in relationships where people are together all the time.
Wow, that's so true.
It is. And that deep connection can be really amazing. It's all about being honest with each other about how you're feeling, what you're struggling with, and supporting each other through it.
So it's like you create this safe space where you can be yourselves completely. You know you're going to be heard and understood.
Exactly. And it's about remembering that you're in this together. You're a team. And, sometimes the best way to deal with everyone's doubts is to remember why you're doing this. Why is your relationship worth fighting for?
Remember your why.
Your why.
That's what keeps you going when things get tough.
It is. And it can be so many different things. Shared goals, plans for the future, or just a really strong belief that your connection is special.
So maybe you're working towards closing the distance eventually, or you're planning a vacation together, or maybe you're making a vision board full of your dreams. Whatever it is, having something to look forward to together can make those miles feel a little less daunting.
Absolutely. It helps you stay hopeful and excited about what the future holds. It reminds you that this isn't forever. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
And even if that light feels really far away sometimes, you can still enjoy the journey, celebrate the small wins, and appreciate the unique connection that you have because of the distance.
It really is a journey, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes all that pressure from the outside world, the stuff that feels so hard, it can actually help your relationship grow stronger. It makes you work harder for what you have.
It's like it's refining your love, making it more resilient. I've heard people say that being in an LDR makes them appreciate the relationship even more than if they were always together.
I think that's true. When you're not always physically together, you don't take those everyday moments for granted. Every phone call, every text message, it all feels so much more meaningful.
You have to be more present, more mindful. And that makes the time you do spend together, whether it's in person or online, so much more special.
It really does. It's like a reminder of what's important. And one of the coolest things about LDRs is how creative people get. They come up with the most amazing ways to stay connected, even when they're miles apart.
They have to get creative.
Yeah, it's like they invent a whole new language of love. Virtual dates, care packages, surprise video calls, handwritten letters.
It's inspiring.
It really is. And all that effort, all those little things you do for each other, it builds so much trust and intimacy.
It's like you're creating this beautiful connection, one little thing at a time.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's important to remember that you're not alone in this. There are so many people out there making LDRs work. They're building amazing lives together and proving that it can be done.
That's so important to remember. LDRs can be just as fulfilling as any other relationship, sometimes even more so. It's all about having the right attitude, learning how to communicate effectively, and being committed to making it work.
So to everyone listening who's in a long-distance relationship, know that you are stronger than you think. Your relationship is worth celebrating. And if you put in the effort and believe in your love, you can create a bond that can handle anything.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Embrace the journey. Celebrate every win. And never underestimate the power of love to close any distance.
I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into LDRs, let's go over those key takeaways one more time.
Sounds good.
Communication is everything. Talk to each other about how you're feeling. Be honest about your fears and your struggles. And don't be afraid to set boundaries with people who don't get it.
Yes, set those boundaries.
Yeah.
And make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who support you.
People who make you feel good.
And take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Do things that make you happy and help you relax.
That's so important.
It is. And remember, you're part of a community. Find other people who are in LDRs. Talk to them. Ask for advice. And remember that you're not alone.
And don't forget to celebrate all the good stuff. Notice those milestones. You're doing something really amazing, and you should be proud of yourself.
You should be proud.
So we talked about a lot today. And I think it's clear that even though LDRs are hard, they can also be really rewarding. They can help you grow as individuals and as a couple. It's all about embracing the journey, finding joy in the little things, and building a love that can overcome anything.
You said it perfectly.
Thanks.
And to everyone out there listening, you've got this. Keep believing in your love. Keep nurturing that connection. And never give up on your dreams.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive. Bye, everyone.